All right, folks, buckle up because today we're diving deep.
Into the heart of India's economic engine.
Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel,
And smash that notification bell.
so you don't miss out on future deep dives just like this one.
We're talking economic planning.
That grand scheme of how India, with its billion-plus people and sky-high ambitions,
Charts a course for growth and development.
whether you're a UPSC aspirant aiming for those top ranks,
A student grappling with the intricacies of the economy.
or just someone who wants to be in the know.
This deep dive is tailor-made for you.
Joining me today is
Someone who can break down the complexities of economic policies and government bodies.
and explain how all of this impacts you and me in the real world.
Absolutely.
So let's set the stage.
What exactly is economic planning?
Yeah, what is it?
It's basically the government's way of saying,
Okay.
we've got these big challenges, poverty, inequality, you name it. Here's how we're going to tackle them.
So it's like a roadmap for the nation's economic journey.
Think of it as a blueprint for building a stronger,
More prosperous India.
and for decades.
The Planning Commission, with its famous 5-year plans.
Was the architect of that blueprint?
Those 5-year plans were like the grand narratives of India's development.
They set targets, allocated resources, and tried to steer the economy in a specific direction.
But they weren't without their critics, were they?
Definitely not.
What were some of those criticisms?
One of the biggest criticisms was that the Planning Commission was too top-down.
Too chopped down.
It was like the central government was holding all the cards,
Okay.
often overlooking the unique needs and realities of different states.
So a bit like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
Forcing a one-size-fits-all solution onto a country as diverse as India,
Exactly.
and that lack of flexibility sometimes led to policies that missed the mark, especially in a rapidly changing world.
It was like trying to navigate a speedboat with a map designed for a bullock cart.
And then came 2015,
2015,
and with it,
a major shakeup.
the Planning Commission was replaced by a NITI Aayog.
NITI Aayog.
Was that a case of out with the old, in with the new?
I mean, in a way, yes, right?
NITI Aayog,
Which stands for
National Institution for Transforming India.
promised a more collaborative and dynamic approach.
Think of it as a think tank.
A think tank.
A group of experts who advise the government on crucial economic policies.
So less about dictating terms from Delhi.
And more about working with states to figure out what works best for them.
Precisely.
It's about recognizing that India's states are incredibly diverse,
Each.
with its own strengths and challenges,
So NITI Aayog encourages states to take the lead in their own development.
rather than just following a blueprint handed down from the center.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this shift could be a game changer.
But a think tank is one thing.
How does NITI Aayog actually translate its ideas into action?
Well, instead of those rigid 5-year plans,
NITI Aayog focuses on crafting.
long-term strategies,
Think of them as...
broad visions for the future,
So they're like...
the 3-year action agenda, the 7-year strategy document,
And even a...
15-year vision document outlining the big goals and priorities for India's development.
Wow.
So it's like setting a compass direction.
Rather than plotting every step of the journey,
And they also launch specific initiatives.
aimed at making those goals a reality,
One that really stands out,
is the...
Aspirational Districts Program.
What's that?
Imagine you're focusing on 115 of the most backward districts across India.
Places that need a boost
In
in
areas like health,
education.
even basic infrastructure.
This sounds like a massive undertaking.
Trying to uplift some of the most disadvantaged areas
And how do they even begin to do that?
instead of just throwing money at the problem,
NITI Aayog works with these districts.
empowering them to identify their own needs and come up with solutions.
Oh, that's a good idea.
They even have this online dashboard called Champions of Change
To track progress.
and encourage a bit of healthy competition.
Get smart.
A little friendly rivalry can go a long way.
So we've got these high-level strategies and targeted initiatives.
But economic planning is about more than just good ideas, right?
You need to back
Yeah.
it all up.
It's like building a house.
You need a strong foundation of reliable data to make sure everything else stands firm.
And who's responsible for gathering all that data, the bricks and mortar of economic planning?
I don't know who is.
That's where the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, or MOSPI, comes in.
Moscow,
They're the data crunchers
the number wizards.
who collect and analyze all sorts of economic information,
Come back.
GDP and inflation to employment figures.
They even monitor how government programs are being implemented on the ground,
So they're like the eyes and ears of the economic planning process.
making sure everyone has the right information to make informed decisions.
Precisely.
And within MOSPI.
There's the National Statistical Office,
Yes.
formed by merging two big data agencies to streamline the whole process.
Makes sense.
But having a ton of data isn't enough, is it?
No, you also need to make sure it's accurate and reliable.
After all,
Garbage in.
garbage out.
You hit the nail on the head.
Data integrity is absolutely crucial.
And that's where
The National Statistical Commission, or NSC, steps in.
NSC,
Think of them as the guardians of data quality,
the watchdogs.
who ensure that India's statistical system is credible and trustworthy.
So they're the ones making sure the numbers are accurate.
And haven't been manipulated.
Right.
They set the standards for how data is
Selected.
analyzed, presented,
And they investigate any concerns about
potential bias or manipulation.
making sure the data we're using to make crucial decisions is rock solid.
Okay, that's reassuring to hear.
But we've also heard those concerns about data manipulation, window dressing, to make things look better than they are.
You're right to raise that point.
What are the implications of that?
When there are doubts about the accuracy of official statistics,
It erodes trust in the entire system.
it's like building a house on shaky ground.
Everything becomes unstable.
International organizations,
Investors?
even policymakers within India, might start questioning the reliability of the data.
And that can have...
Serious consequences.
So it's not just an academic issue.
It can have real-world economic impacts.
Like what?
Imagine international credit rating agencies.
Those folks who assess the risk of lending to a country.
They rely heavily on official statistics
Yeah.
if they have doubts about the data,
They might downgrade India's credit rating.
which would make it more expensive for the government to borrow money.
That, in turn, impacts...
Everything from infrastructure projects to social welfare programs.
Wow. So the stakes are pretty high when it comes to data integrity.
What steps are being taken to address these concerns and ensure that India's economic statistics are truly reliable?
Yeah, what steps are being taken?
The government is well aware of these concerns,
Yes.
taking steps to address them.
Such as,
There's a draft National Statistical Commission bill in the works.
which aims to.
Give the NSC more teeth, more independence to act as a watchdog. They're also developing a new national policy on official statistics,
Outlining.
clear guidelines, and best practices for how data is
Collected.
collected.
And so it's about strengthening the institutions.
Making sure the rules of the game are clear and that everyone is playing fair.
And they've also
Set up a standing committee on economic statistics, or SCES.
to constantly review the methodologies.
Identify any gaps and suggest improvements.
So it's a multi-pronged approach to
Making sure India's statistical system is robust
transparent.
and trustworthy.
It sounds like there's a real push to bring more transparency and accountability to the process.
All right, so we've got NEI Aayog setting the direction, MOSPI providing the data.
And various other institutions working to make sure the data is accurate and the system's running smoothly.
It's starting to feel like a well-oiled machine
It's definitely a complex system,
with a lot of moving parts.
but when it works well.
It can be incredibly effective in driving progress.
So can you give us some specific examples of how all of this translates into real-world changes?
How does NITI Aayog's work, for example, actually impact the lives of people on the ground?
Yeah, let's hear some examples.
Let's take the agricultural sector,
Which
the backbone of the Indian economy.
any Aayog has been working on suggesting reforms to the...
Minimum support price, or MSP, system.
This is a
Crucial safety net for farmers.
guaranteeing.
A minimum price for certain crops.
But
There have been calls to make the system more efficient and market-oriented.
so how is NITI Aayog trying to improve things?
They've recommended moving towards price deficiency payments.
Price deficiency payments.
Imagine this. Instead of the government buying up all the produce, if market prices fall below the MSP,
They would.
give farmers direct payments to cover the difference,
So it's a way to support farmers while also...
allowing market forces to play a role.
That sounds like a smart approach.
What other areas has NITI Aayog been focusing on?
Yeah. Well,
Energy is another big one.
energy.
They've been pushing for alternative fuels like methanol and biofuels.
Aligning with...
India's goal of reducing its dependence on fossil fuels.
What about electric vehicles?
And then there's electric vehicles.
Another area where...
NITI Aayog has been instrumental in shaping policy.
So it's not just about economic growth.
They're also thinking about long-term sustainability and the well-being of future generations.
It's impressive to see how NITI Aayog is tackling these complex issues.
They're definitely playing a multifaceted role.
And let's not forget about MOSPI, those data wizards who provide the foundation for all of this.
Their work is crucial.
Can you shed some light on how MOSPI's data translates into tangible outcomes that affect people's lives?
Absolutely.
Give us an example.
Let's talk about the Periodic Labor Force Survey, or PLFS.
PLFS. This massive survey provides crucial data on employment and unemployment trends across the country.
So it's like taking a snapshot of
The job market,
helping policymakers
or
understand.
where the strengths and weaknesses are. So if they see a particular region struggling with high unemployment,
They can use this data to design targeted interventions.
maybe.
Skill development programs or employment generation schemes?
Right.
Precisely.
The PLFS is a powerful tool for
Understanding the dynamics of the job market and crafting effective policies to address unemployment challenges.
that makes a lot of sense.
What other examples can you share of how MOSPI's data is being used to shape policy decisions?
Yeah, I'd love to hear another example.
Another crucial area,
Yeah.
inflation monitoring.
Okay.
MOSPI tracks the prices of all sorts of goods and services to calculate the Consumer Price Index, or CPI.
You might have.
Heard this mentioned in the news.
Yeah, the CPI.
It's a key measure of inflation.
It's closely watched by the...
Reserve Bank of India, or RBI, which sets monetary policy.
So if inflation is rising too quickly?
The RBI might raise interest rates to try and cool things down.
Exactly.
MOSPI's data plays a crucial role in helping the RBI make informed decisions about interest rates.
Which have a ripple effect throughout the entire economy.
It's fascinating to see how all these different pieces of the puzzle fit together.
NITI Aayog providing the strategic vision.
MOSPI providing the data.
And various other institutions working to ensure data integrity and smooth implementation.
It's a complex ecosystem, but it's fascinating to see how it all works together.
We've talked about NITI Aayog's focus on cooperative federalism.
Working with states rather than dictating terms from Delhi.
But how does that actually play out in practice?
How do they make sure states are genuinely involved in the planning process?
Yeah, I'd like to know more about that.
That's a great question.
Right.
One of the key mechanisms NITI Aayog uses
Is it the Governing Council?
the Governing Council.
Imagine this. The Prime Minister
All the chief ministers of states.
and lieutenant governors of union territories gathered around a table discussing the economic priorities for the nation.
Wow, that sounds like a powerful forum.
So it's a chance for the central and state governance to come together, share their perspectives.
Make decisions collaboratively.
Exactly.
The Governing Council provides a platform for
Open dialogue.
in collaborative decision-making, making sure state perspectives are heard and considered
So it's a move away from that top-down approach.
towards a more inclusive and participatory process.
Absolutely.
NITI Aayog recognizes that states are often in the best position to understand their own unique challenges and opportunities.
By involving them closely in the planning process?
They can create policies that are more effective and tailored to local needs.
That's a really insightful perspective.
It seems like NITI Aayog is genuinely trying to change the way economic planning happens in India.
Moving away from a one-size-fits-all approach to something that's more responsive and flexible.
It's definitely a shift in the right direction.
And this focus on data integrity with institutions like the NSC and the SCES working to ensure accuracy and transparency.
Shows a real commitment to making sure decisions are based on solid evidence.
It's all about...
Building a more robust and trustworthy system for the long term.
Well, this has been a fantastic deep dive into the world of economic planning in India.
We've covered a lot of ground.
From the evolution of planning to the current roles of NITI Aayog and MOSPI.
And even touched upon some of the challenges and solutions.
But there's still so much more to explore, right?
Definitely.
So for all you deep divers out there,
Make sure to join us for part 2.
where we'll delve even deeper into some of the key initiatives and challenges facing India's economic planners.
Stay tuned.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back, deep divers.
Let's continue our journey through the intricate world of India's economic planning.
We've laid a solid foundation, understanding the evolution from the Planning Commission to NITI Aayog.
And the roles of key institutions like MOSPI and the NSC.
Now,
Let's zoom in on some specific areas where economic planning is making a real difference.
one that immediately comes to mind,
Okay.
infrastructure development.
India has ambitious plans to upgrade its roads, railways, ports, even airports. So how does economic planning help turn these grand visions into concrete reality
You're right, India has been making impressive progress.
in that area?
Economic planning plays a crucial role, identifying which projects are most critical.
Making sure.
The money is there, coordinating efforts across different levels of government,
Heads like,
conducting an orchestra,
Making sure.
everyone is playing in harmony.
So it's not just about throwing money at every shiny new project that comes along.
It's about making strategic choices.
And ensuring that.
Resources are used wisely.
Precisely.
NITI Aayog, for instance,
Has been instrumental in developing.
the National Infrastructure Pipeline,
This pipeline.
identifies and prioritizes projects worth trillions of rupees.
Over a 5-year period.
Trillions of rupees.
It's a massive undertaking.
It provides.
A roadmap for where India needs to invest in its infrastructure.
How does NITI Aayog decide which projects make it into this exclusive pipeline?
It's not just about picking the biggest or most expensive projects.
They use a multi-criteria assessment framework.
Considering factors like,
Economic viability.
will this project actually
Generate return.
social impact,
How will this
benefit communities?
environmental sustainability?
Are we building for the, and of course,
alignment with national priorities?
so it's a holistic approach, considering not just the economic benefits, but also the broader social and environmental impacts.
Exactly.
It's about making sure these projects contribute to India's sustainable and inclusive development.
That makes a lot of sense.
Once the projects are identified and prioritized, how does economic planning ensure they actually get off the ground?
Mobilizing resources is a crucial step.
And that involves
Working with various ministries, state governments, even private sector players to secure funding and create a smooth implementation process.
sometimes.
They set up special purpose vehicles or SPVs for specific projects.
Think of these as dedicated teams.
with the expertise and resources to get the job done efficiently.
So it's like creating a SWAT team for each project.
Bringing together the best people and resources to make sure it succeeds.
Exactly.
And of course,
Monitoring and evaluation are
crucial
economic
planning
planning.
helps track the progress of these projects.
Oh, sure.
They're delivered on time, within budget, meet the required standards,
It's about accountability.
making sure things stay on track.
Okay, so we've got this grand vision for infrastructure development.
Guided by strategic planning.
But let's shift gears for a moment.
And talk about
Another crucial area,
human capital development.
investing in education, healthcare.
And skill development is essential for any economy to thrive.
How does economic planning contribute to building a stronger, more skilled workforce in India?
You're absolutely right.
Human capital is
The engine of economic growth,
India have,
this incredible pool of talent,
and unlocking its potential.
is key to achieving its economic ambitions.
Economic planning sets the stage for this by,
Prioritizing investments in education, healthcare, skills training.
so it's about ensuring
Everyone has access to quality education and healthcare.
and equipping people with the skills they need to succeed.
In a rapidly changing job market,
It sounds like a massive task.
trying to uplift the lives of over 1 billion people,
It is a massive task.
it's a continuous journey.
Right.
NITI Aayog is playing a key role.
In this.
They've been working on a new national education policy, transforming the education system in India.
The focus is on
Holistic development, critical thinking, skill-based learning, preparing students for the challenges and opportunities of the 21st century.
that's an ambitious goal.
What about healthcare?
India faces a lot of challenges in providing affordable and accessible healthcare to its vast population.
How does economic planning help address these issues?
Healthcare.
Is another priority area.
NITI Aayog is collaborating with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare to develop a national health policy,
aimed at
achieving universal health coverage,
this involves
strengthening primary health care, expanding
health insurance coverage.
promoting preventive care,
So it's about creating a system where everyone has access to quality health care.
regardless of their income or location.
Exactly.
And economic planning also focuses on improving the efficiency of healthcare delivery, the use of technology, the availability of essential medicines,
Yeah.
using data to track health outcomes,
It's a multi-pronged approach to,
building a healthier India.
okay, so we've got education and healthcare.
But what about skill development?
With technology evolving at breakneck speed.
It's more important than ever to equip people with the right skills to thrive in the modern workplace.
Absolutely.
Skill development is crucial,
And ITOG.
has been instrumental in this area as well.
Okay.
They have this initiative called the Adel Innovation Mission,
Which focuses on,
fostering innovation and entrepreneurship.
they've launched
Adel Tinkering Labs in schools,
to encourage.
STEM education,
I know they.
Adel Incubation Centers to support startups.
So it's about nurturing creativity, problem-solving skills,
Yeah,
a mindset that embraces innovation.
exactly.
They've also been heavily involved in the Skill India mission,
Which aims to
train millions of young people across the country,
providing them with
industry-relevant skills,
economic planning, helps identify
authority sectors,
training program
and build partnerships.
between industry and training institutions,
So it's about bridging the gap between education and employment.
making sure people have the skills they need to succeed.
It's great to see this emphasis on making sure education and skill development programs are aligned with the needs of the economy.
But let's switch gears one more time.
And talk about something that's been a major focus for the Indian government.
Improving the ease of doing business.
India has made significant progress.
But there are still challenges.
How does economic planning contribute to creating a more business-friendly environment?
You're right.
A vibrant and competitive business environment is crucial
For attracting investment.
driving economic growth,
And economic planning plays a key role in.
making India a more attractive destination for businesses,
So it's about cutting red tape.
simplifying procedures,
Creating it.
a more predictable and transparent regulatory environment.
Exactly.
NITI Aayog has been working closely with ministries and state governments to identify and remove bottlenecks,
Streamline
regulations, and improve.
access to credit
So it's about creating a level playing field.
where businesses can thrive.
Can you give us some specific examples of reforms that have been implemented to improve the ease of doing business in India?
One major step has been implementing a single window clearance system.
So instead of running,
From one office to another to get various approvals and permits,
entrepreneurs can now.
get everything they need through a single online portal.
That sounds like a huge time saver.
It is.
And it reduces the potential for
Corruption and delays.
what else?
The government has also introduced online platforms for company registration,
Filing regulatory compliances.
making it easier and faster.
For businesses to comply with the rules.
And they've been working on simplifying labor laws.
Making it easier for businesses to hire and manage employees.
So it's encouraging to see these concrete steps being taken to make India a more attractive place to do business.
These reforms are all part of a larger effort to make India a global economic powerhouse.
But of course,
There are always challenges.
right, we've talked about all the positive aspects of economic planning, but it's important to acknowledge the hurdles as well.
What are some of the key challenges that India faces in implementing its economic plans?
One of the biggest challenges
Is sheer scale and diversity of the country.
implementing policies and programs across a nation with such a vast population and varying geographies.
Is incredibly complex.
It's like trying to steer a giant ship.
It takes time and effort to...
Main core,
So it's not just about coming up with brilliant ideas in Delhi.
but also about making sure those ideas translate into effective action on the ground in every corner of the country.
Exactly.
Another challenge
Is coordinating effectively
between
central government, state governments,
and
local bodies,
India has,
a multi-layered governance structure.
and ensuring everyone is on the same page and working together seamlessly.
It's crucial for successful implementation.
It's like a giant puzzle where all the pieces need to fit together perfectly.
A very apt analogy.
And then, of course, there's the issue of funding.
Ambitious development plans require significant financial resources.
India government
Has to carefully balance.
raising and
Managing.
prioritizing investments in key areas.
So it sounds like a constant juggling act.
Trying to allocate limited resources to a seemingly endless list of priorities.
And we can't forget about
Global economic trend
India's.
integrated into the global economy.
So factors like.
Global trade patterns, commodity prices,
And
currency fluctuations can significantly impact the domestic economy. So economic planning isn't just about looking inward, but also about navigating the complexities of a global economic landscape.
absolutely.
It requires
Flexibility and adaptability.
anticipation.
Potential risks.
Not having-
Contingency plans in place.
And finally, we can't overlook the human factor.
The success of any economic plan depends on the people who implement it.
Built
It's strong and efficient bureaucracy, a culture of accountability,
And ensuring.
policies are effectively implemented on the ground are all critical factors.
So it's not just about having a brilliant plan on paper.
But also about having the right people and systems in place to execute it effectively.
You've got it.
It's a complex interplay of strategic thinking, effective implementation,
And the ability to...
adapt to ever-changing circumstances.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
From infrastructure development to human capital development and the ease of doing business.
It's clear that economic planning plays a crucial role in shaping India's economic destiny.
But as you've pointed out,
There are also significant challenges to overcome,
that's true.
but it's an ongoing journey,
And India continues to learn and adapt.
striving to build a more prosperous and inclusive future for all its citizens.
Well, that brings us to the end of part 2 of our deep dive.
But the journey isn't over yet.
In part 3,
We'll wrap up our exploration by looking ahead at the future of economic planning in India.
what trends are emerging?
What challenges lie ahead?
Join us for the final chapter of this fascinating story.
Welcome back, Deep Divers.
It's time for the final chapter of our deep dive into India's economic planning saga.
We've journeyed from the days of the Planning Commission to the rise of NITI Aayog,
Explored key sectors like infrastructure and human capital.
and even grappled with some of the challenges that come with planning for a nation as vast and diverse as India.
But now I want to look ahead.
What's next for economic planning in India?
What trends are shaping the future?
What's on the horizon?
India's economic landscape is constantly evolving. Its approach to planning needs to keep pace.
So what's changing?
One trend that's becoming increasingly prominent is the emphasis on data-driven decision-making.
We've already talked about the importance of accurate data.
But now we're seeing a shift towards leveraging technology to analyze vast data sets and extract actionable insights.
It's like
Having a superpower,
the ability to...
see patterns and trends that were hidden before,
So it's not just about collecting data.
but about using it intelligently to make better, more informed decisions.
Exactly.
Think artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data analytics
These tools...
can help policymakers identify patterns, predict trends, design more targeted interventions.
Can you give us an example?
Imagine using data analytics to identify regions most vulnerable to climate change,
And then...
developing tailored adaptation strategies.
That's the power of data-driven decision-making.
It's a game changer for sure.
What other trends are you seeing that are shaping the future of economic planning in India?
Another key trend is the growing emphasis on sustainability.
Sustainability.
India is facing a number of environmental challenges. These issues are increasingly being integrated into economic planning,
So we're seeing
a shift towards promoting green growth,
investing in...
renewable energy,
Yeah.
adopting sustainable practices across various sectors.
It's about recognizing that.
Economic growth and environmental protection can go hand in hand,
So it's not about choosing between development and the environment.
but finding ways to make them work together.
Precisely.
Sustainable development is about meeting the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs.
Yeah.
Economic planning is crucial for ensuring that India's growth trajectory is both inclusive and sustainable.
That's a powerful idea.
What about the role of the private sector?
India has a mixed economy.
And the private sector plays a significant role in driving growth and creating jobs.
So how is economic planning evolving to better engage with the private sector and harness its dynamism?
There's a growing recognition that the government can't do it all alone. The private sector is crucial for mobilizing investment, fostering innovation,
Yeah.
creating a more dynamic economy,
So we're seeing a shift.
towards creating a more enabling environment for businesses,
Promoting
public-private partnerships,
and leveraging.
the expertise of the private sector in key areas,
That's about
the
recognizing.
strengths of both the public and private sectors,
Yeah.
finding ways to work together effectively,
So it's about creating a win-win situation.
where the government sets the direction and provides the framework.
What?
The private sector brings its energy, innovation, and resources to the table.
Exactly.
It's about fostering a collaborative ecosystem where both the public and private sectors can contribute to India's economic success.
Okay, so we've got data-driven decision-making, sustainability, and private sector engagement as some of the key trends shaping the future of economic planning in India.
If you had to pick one thing that you're most excited about,
What would it be?
that's a tough choice.
But-
if I had to pick one,
Go for it.
I'd say I'm most excited about the potential of technology to transform economic planning.
Technology.
We're just beginning to explore the possibilities of AI, machine learning, and big data analytics.
And these tools
Can make planning more precise, more responsive, and more inclusive.
helping us.
Tackle complex challenges and create a better future for all Indians.
So as we wrap up our deep dive,
What's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember about the future of economic planning in India?
I'd say the key takeaway is that economic planning is not a static concept.
It's a dynamic and evolving process that needs to constantly adapt to new challenges,
Embrace.
new opportunities, and leverage new tools and technologies to create a more prosperous, inclusive, and sustainable future for India.
That's a perfect note to end on.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights and expertise with us today.
And to all our deep divers out there, thank you for joining us on this incredible journey.
We hope you've learned something new
Gained a deeper understanding of India's economic landscape.
and are inspired to keep exploring the ever-changing world of economics.
Don't forget to like, subscribe,